What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we're here today with the review for Games People Play Season 2, Episode 10, you guys. This is the season finale of Games People Play. The name of the episode was The Greater Good, you guys. So before we go ahead and get into the review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and are not yet subscribed to the channel, then I'm going to need you guys to do me a big, huge favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on, and share the video. And with that out the way, you guys, without further ado, let's discuss Games People Play, shall we? All right, you guys, so this episode, we open up and we see Eden and we see Marcus. So they're in negotiations, right? So they're basically at a standstill about how much money to offer Marcus to, keep him with the Vipers, right? So they're going back and forth. Somebody says 68 million, somebody says 78 million, someone says 62 million. Marcus is like, it's a no for him, right? So he's like, what, I'm out. So then, Eden's father comes in, right? And he's like, what's the problem? And Marcus says, you're the problem. He says, so you're still upset about that whole brunch we had? He says, absolutely, right? So Marcus, he got up, he left out, right? So Eden following in behind him, and she tells him, Marcus, like, you should know me, and you know that I'm not behind anything that my father had to do with Vanessa and your daughter. So I had nothing to do with that, right? So then we see MJ. So MJ is working on this television show. It looks like it's kind of like a TMZ style show, or actually, better yet, Wendy Williams. It gives you the Wendy Williams vibe, right? But then on the bottom of the screen, there's a breaking news alert. And that breaking news alert was about Layla and Jason, right? Now, I didn't read the breaking news alert, but I do know that it was about Layla and Jason, and I know it's about his polls and, the allegations against him, right? So then we move over to Marcus and Kareem, right? So Marcus and Kareem, they're talking about this situation with the Vipers, right? And, Kareem was like, with the amount of money that they throwing at you, they can spit on me, they can say this, they can do that to me. And, Marcus like, no amount of, not all money is good money. And Kareem says, people keep saying that, but I don't know nothing about that, right? And then Marcus says, but we all know what Marcus' issue is. The reason that Marcus doesn't want to re-sign to the Vipers is really because of this shit with Victor, Eden's father, right? So Kareem's like, huh? Quan, what'd you say? He said, do you hear Quan? He's like, no, I don't hear. He's like, she's really loud. So he gets up and he leaves out. But before that, he says, well, if you don't resign to the Vipers, then that means that I'm no longer going to be able to commentate the games, right? Which I don't understand how that would correlate. I don't understand how that would correlate, right? Because he didn't technically get the job because of Marcus. Eden saw him. She liked what he provided, and she hired him. So I don't necessarily know how the two equate, but somehow they probably will. So we're gonna pause here and move forward, you guys. All right, you guys. So we see Nia. So Nia is at her crib, and Terrence is there, right? So Nia is going through her mail, and she got this letter from the government, right? So Nia has to go back. Remember the episode when they went to Marcus's home to go to his school when they were, raising his jersey. Remember, they had the weed in the car, and Nia said that she was an immigrant, right? And that she has a green card. Well, she got a letter from the government, and since she got fired from her job with Chris, Nia now has to leave the country, and she's thinking that the foundation is behind this, right? So then, Terrence was like, well, hey, you don't necessarily have to go. You have another option. She's like, what option is that? He says, marry me. And Nia didn't say anything to him. So then we see Kareem, right? So Kareem, he's talking to Quanisha, right? And he's telling Quanisha that, if Marcus leaves the Vipers, he doesn't have a job and they're going to be ass out, right? And she's like, why don't you just talk to Marcus about this? Like telling him that if he leaves the Vipers, then we will be without, right? He says, I'm not going to do that, Quan, because so many people come to Marcus and try to use my boy. He's like, that's my best friend. That's my brother. I can't do that to him, right? So then Quanisha tells him about their wedding and the fact that they're going to be having their wedding over at Eden's house, right? So then we see MJ. MJ left the set of that television show he was working on, right? He saw Layla. He was like, wait a minute, Layla, so did you sneak up here? She's like, no, I came up here, because I have an interview with Good Morning LA. He was like, are you talking about the rise in unemployment? She's like, no, I'm going to talk about, sexual assault and, the long lasting effects from it. So Layla is doing some good for herself right after she came out and she was in solidarity with the young lady who was abused by Jason. So things are looking up for her, right? She may have lost her acting gig, but she's on the upheaval, right? So then we see Eden. So Eden, she's talking to her dad, right? And she's telling her dad, like, hey, so I'm gonna stay with Marcus because I love Marcus. And the things that you want me to do with Marcus, I'm absolutely not gonna do that, right? So her dad tells her, her dad tells her in a nutshell, like, so you gonna throw me to the wolves, but stay with him, right? He says, that if at any point in time I gave him Vanessa's exact location, that he would drop you like a hot potato and go to her immediately. And I was like, well, damn, basically telling your daughter, like, that his wife, you come in second place to her, which I'm pretty sure Eden knew that, but I'm like, damn, so you would really just stomp all over your daughter's heart to get what you want for the foundation. Who? You ain't a good person, Mr. Laszlo. Let's see, where are we at now? So we see Quanisha and Kareem, right? So Quanisha and Kareem, they're talking to Marcus, and they tell him, hey, we gonna be fine, right? And they tell him about the wedding. We're getting married next week. And he was like, oh, for real? Like, where y'all getting married at? She was like, we're getting married at Eden's crib. He's like, wait a minute, Eden's crib? Like, y'all could have asked to get married at my place. They were like, yeah, the decor of your house, no, nothing compared to Eden's, right? So he says, okay, well, and Kareem was like, well, you still gonna be my best man, right? He's like, hell yeah. And I'm throwing you a bachelor party too. She was like, bachelorette party, bachelor and bachelorette party. That's what you throwing? He was like, yeah, he's throwing a bachelor and a bachelorette party for them. So we're going to pause here and we're going to move forward, you guys. All right, you guys. So we see they are having a joint bachelor and bachelorette party. So we see Romello there. We see Kareem. It's Kareem. Romello is the other guy. I think his name is Jason. No, that's not Jason. The other dude that they had the threesome with, that they swung with, right? And he's there, and Marcus, right? So then on the other side, we got Quanisha, the guy that they swung with, his wife. We got Layla. We got MJ with the women. And it's so interesting, though, for me, right? Because I know people have speculated for years about Kendall's sexuality, right? So I wonder when they came with, I wonder with the writing style with this show, was this their way of, him coming out? Like, I wonder, I've wondered that since season one. Is this his way of coming out? I mean, he doesn't have to, but I always wondered that, right? So everybody's having fun at the bachelorette party with the exception of Kareem, because Kareem is so focused on Quanisha over there. She got her money, she throwing it at the strip, she having a good time. And I'm like, Kareem, you got a stripper on the pole. You got one right here in your face. You ain't paying them no attention, right? So then we see Terrence, right? So Terrence and Nia, they're at her apartment. She's getting ready for the party, right? And you guys remember in the last episode that Terrence told Nia that he had somebody that, he could give those tapes to so that they could out the foundation. But the person that he wanted to enlist for help, that person doesn't want to touch this any more than the people that Nia reached out to, right? So then we see Layla. So Layla, she was with the ladies, but then she went over there where Marcus didn't were, right? And, her and Marcus having a conversation, and then Romello comes over, and Romello wants to talk to her, and she's like, yeah, I don't really see it for you for right now. He's like, let me go get a drink. I'm gonna come back over here and we're gonna have a conversation, right? So then we move back over to Kareem. So Kareem literally had a stripper in his face. She was dancing, right? And he was like, hey, you gotta move. Like, get her 6 feet away from me because my fiance over there and she ain't gonna like this. Meanwhile, Quanisha, she's with her stripper, right? And the stripper got her up in the air with her legs. He got her up like this, right? So Kareem saw it. He was like, wait a minute. Quanisha Jenkins. Quanisha Lil Slauson Jenkins. Ghetto ass name, right? So he went up to her and he was like, you get down now. Like, I need you to keep your feet on the ground and your legs together. So he pulls her to the bathroom. Marcus came over. Before that, Marcus came over trying to calm the shit down. He was like, you talk. I don't know what he called Eden, but he called Eden something, right? But he told Marcus, you talk to her. So Marcus and Eden are talking. Quanisha and Kareem, they went to the back, right? So when they went to the back, they were in the bathroom having sex, right? So Nia arrives, right? And MJ's like, I know that you've been trying to get people to publish that tape that you have of the foundation. He was like, give it to me and I'll get it to the right people, right? And she was like, I don't know about that. He was like, Nia, I told you before, it's me and you against the world. So trust me, Nia, I got your back, right? So then we see everyone as they're getting ready for the wedding, right? We see Quanisha, she's with the girls, she's getting her makeup done. And then we see Kareem and he's with his mother, right? No Jamal. So Jamal is gone, right? So then we see Nia. So Nia is talking to MJ and Layla, right? So she's telling them that Terrence has asked her to marry him. And they were like, what did you say? And MJ was like, I hope you told him a hell no in your Whitney Houston voice, right? So then we start this wedding up, and this was the most ghetto, fabulous wedding I've ever saw in my life, right? So you see Marcus come out to Jagged Edge's Let's Get Married remix. You see Marcus. You see the guy that they swung with, and you see Kareem come out. And then you see her bridesmaid come out. I'm like, oh, this is so ghetto. Ghetto, but it was funny, right? So then Quanisha, she got walked out by Kareem's mother, right? So then they start the wedding. Interesting wedding, right? Because I was looking at Kareem and I was looking at Quanisha. Kareem and Quanisha, like, they weren't even like this. They were literally, but I know it's COVID. They were really 6 feet apart from each other. Then they changed their vows. Quanisha had the shortest vows I've ever heard in my life. And they did the exchange of the rings, which was really interesting because when you put the rings on with this ring, Ivy wed. They didn't do that. I was like, we missed the whole part of the with this ring, Ivy wed, or with they always have people say something as they put the rings on their fingers, but they didn't do that. But now we have Quanisha LaSlawson Jenkins. Even Romello said that is a ghetto ass name. Very, very, very ghetto. So we're going to pause here, you guys, and I'm going to wrap up the episode. All right, you guys. So after the ceremony is over, we see Eden. So Eden, she went and found Marcus, right? And she tells Marcus that she loves him. And then she tells him, like, hey, with my dad, I don't know anything about what he did, and I hope that you can believe me when I tell you that, right? And she tells him not to throw them away. He says, but at this point, I just have a lot of questions. She says, well, feel free to ask me whatever you want to ask me. He says, in due time, but not right now. So I guess Eden and Marcus are going to take things slow, right? So then she reaches into her purse and she has this piece of paper that she folded up. She says, here, Marcus, take this and open this, when you have the time to open it. So after she left, he opened the paper and I figured out what it was. I knew what it was in the moment. I'm like, she must have got from her father where Vanessa and Deja were, because his face perked up. So I'm like, yep, she knows where they are, right? So then we see Nia. So Nia's at home, right? And on the news, we find out that Victor has been arrested in connection with, his involvement with the foundation, them covering up the stuff that Jason has done for his political, aspirations, and they have arrested him, right? And this has all come about because of the tapes that have been turned in. So we find out that MJ did turn over those tapes. So Nia calls MJ and she thanks him. She's like, he's like, and I got you. She thanks him. He says, I got your back, Nia. I told you that, right? Now you guys remember in the last episode that he asked Andre what would happen if someone were to leave the foundation. And he said that they will leak his initiation tapes. So then we see he's in his cafe and everybody starts getting alerts on their phones, right? And the alerts was his initiation tape. So at one point we see him take his, I wonder if his initiation was when they kidnapped him, because you guys remember they told him to take his clothes off. So I'm wondering if that was his initiation. I'm wondering if that was it, right? So then we see Layla. So Layla, she is on set, right? And this guy is approaching her about doing a new show, and she tells him, "Nah, bruh, I'm good, right?" So then we see MJ. So MJ, he's calling Andre for help. Meanwhile, the LAPD knocks on his door, and they're arresting him for wire transfer, all this kind of stuff, right? Fraud and all that. So then we see Nia. So Nia's calling Terrence, trying to get Terrence, help with MJ. He's like, "So you calling me about your friends, but you can't answer the question that I asked you about, will you marry me, right?" And she still didn't answer. She says, he's like, "I've professed my love for you and all this stuff, and you still can't say anything to me." And she says, she doesn't see herself, she can't see herself being a wife or his wife, so to speak, right? So he hangs up in her face, and when he did that, he called his guys to come and arrest her, to deport her. So they bust into her crib, right? But she's not there. And even we looked at her, when I looked at her next day, I'm like, yeah, she is out of the country, because you could see you could see like a bush. I'm like, yeah, Nia done got out of town, right? So then we see at the end of the episode, we see Marcus. So he calls Eden up. She's like, "Yeah, I didn't expect for you to come." I'm like, "Well, why didn't?" And then he's on the beach. I'm like, "You shouldn't have expected for him to come. You gave him the location of Vanessa and Deja, and lo and behold, he was right there in front of Deja." I'm like, "Yeah, what did you expect?" But he did tell her that he loved her, and she said, "So will we see you, back here for next season?" He says, "We'll see." So that's where season 2 ended of Games People Play. It was a good season, you guys. I really thoroughly enjoyed season 2. I hope BT gives us a season 3 of Games People Play, and I hope that it doesn't take us nearly as long to get season 3 as it took us to get season 2. And also, I don't know what the issue was why Lauren London didn't return full time this season, but I hope we can get Lauren London back for season 3 of Games People Play, because I actually enjoy Vanessa. I enjoy her. I love Vanessa. That's one of my favorite characters. She and Nia, two of my favorite characters on the show. But leave your comments in the comment section below, you guys. Like the video, share the video, and until the next one, you guys, stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Remember, wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, be blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.